All right, let's just review what a trinomial is. So a trinomial, you see this tri, and we think of other things that are tris. What do we think of? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is a tricycle. How many wheels does a tricycle have? Hopefully, you said 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so our tricycle is going to go move on over, and we are going to look at what it means to evaluate a trinomial. So a trinomial is going to be something that has 3 terms, or three parts. So in each of these, I've got an x squared, I've got an x, and then I have a constant. And this, I'm going to look at the basic trinomials where I do not have any number up here in front of my x term. Notice that it's just x squared. It's not like it's 2x, it's not negative 2x. This is simply x squared. But b is going to be a number, and c is going to be a number, and it could be positive, like in this situation, and in this situation, or it could be negative, like down here. So there's a couple types of trinomials that I want to end up discussing with you. Let's look at the situation number 1, where I have everything positive. This is the first case. Second case scenario is I have a negative second term, but a positive third term. Third case, it's the opposite. Positive middle term, negative final term. Or negative middle term and negative final term. So we're going to look at situations that would lead into these, and how do you factor these? Well, let's look at just solving the first one. So I want to factor a polynomial. In order to factor a polynomial, the first thing I want to do is I want to find the factors of my c. So let's look at an example. Let's say I give you x squared plus 7x plus 12. My 7 is my b term, and my 12 is my c term. And so I want to end up finding the factors for c that together equal 7. Let me explain. Factors of 12. Well, I have 12 times 1. I have 6 times 2. Or I have 3 times 4. Now, let's look at this. 12 plus 1. 12 plus 1 equals 13, not 7. That does not work. 6 times 2 equals, well, 12. It doesn't equal 7 either. Where am I getting 7 from? It's this guy right here. I want my things to equal my b. Okay, so 3 times 4. Well, if I add them up, 3 plus 4 equals, bing, 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 3 plus 4 equals 7. So these are the factors that I'm going to end up wanting to use when I factor this. So remember, when I factor binomials, I had to separate them out. Remember that if I think about FOIL, that in order to get x squared, it was the same as x times x. That was my first term because I had to multiply them. So when I split up x squared plus 7x plus 12, I'm going to have x plus something here times x plus something here. How do I find those factors? Well, I want my end factors to be the ones that, when they add up, equal my 7. So which ones work? Well, x plus 3 and x plus 4. So let's just double check this. When I FOIL, I do first x times x, and then I want to do my outer terms, which is taking my x to my 4. So I'm going to add that, 4x, plus my inner, which is my 3x, plus my last, 3 times 4. Okay, and I get x squared plus 7x plus 12. That's what I just did here. And I broke it apart by finding the factors for c that, when added up, gave me my b. Let's do another example. All right, let's look at this problem. Remember that I'm using this format, and instead of x, I just have g's. Okay, and remember that what I wanted to do was to find my factors of c first, So which one is my C term? Well, it's 20, so I'm going to write those factors out. 20 times what equals 20? Well, 1. All right, what times 2 equals 20? 10. Is 20 divisible by 3? No, nothing times 3 is going to give me 20. But I do have a 4. 4 times what gives me 20? 4 times 5. Is it divisible by 6 or 7? No. 8 or 9? No. Okay, so these are all of my factors. So I'm going to end up trying to figure out which ones added up will give me 21. So then I want to add each pair of factors because I want them to equal my B term. So 5 plus 4 equals 9. No bueno. 10 plus 2 equals 12. Still no bueno. 20 plus 1 equals 21. Ding, ding, ding. So this is the pair of factors I want to use. So then what I end up doing is third step. I want to set it up. So I have my x term here. And then my factor 1 is going to go here and factor 2 here. Now because everything here is positive, that makes it really easy. I'm going to be adding something to my x. So let's set that up. My factors are going to be x plus something else. And my terms are 20 and 1. I put 20 here and I put 1 here. And let's just check. In order to check our work, we're just going to factor it back out using FOIL. So first is my x squareds. My outer is my x times 1, which is 1x. And then I'm going to add my inner terms, which is 20 times x. And then lastly, I'm going to add my 20 times 1. So I get x squared plus 21x plus 20. Genius, right? Not so hard. All right, let's see if you can do a squared plus 13a plus 30. And hopefully what you're going to end up getting is a plus 10 times a plus 3. Now just as a side note, does it matter if you wrote it as a plus 3 times a plus 10? No, it really doesn't. You're still going to end up getting the same thing here. All right, but let's remember that's not the only type of trinomial. I still have trinomials that have negatives in them. So let's look at this example where I have x squared equals negative bx plus c. All right, and we're going to look at a problem way in here. All right, we're going to look at this guy. Remember that just like before, I want to end up finding the factors of 42, but I have an additional little twist here. This has this little pesky negative. So what I'm going to end up with when I have a pair of terms is they're both going to end up being negative. And here's why. Remember that in order to get my 42, I have to multiply whatever this term is by this term. So in other words, d minus 2 and d minus 6 is going to give me d squared minus, well, first order, so it's going to be plus d times negative 6 plus my inner negative 2d plus negative 2 times negative 6. And in this situation, you're going to get d squared minus 6d minus 2d plus 12. When your last term is positive and your middle term is negative, it indicates that both of these guys are negative. So just to review, negative, positive means negative, negative in here. Okay, let's go back over here and look at this. D squared minus 17d plus 42. What are my factors of 42? Well, I need to be looking at taking the negative factors of 42. So let's think of negative 1 times negative 42, right? That's always the first call. Or maybe negative 2 times negative 21. Or What about negative 3? Could this go in? Let's see. 3 goes into 4 once, the remainder of 1, so that gives me negative 14. Oh, I could. That's kind of cool. 4 and 5 aren't going to go into this. 6 isn't going to go into this. Well, actually 6 is. Let's write that down. Negative 6 times negative 7. All right, now I need to look at the pair of factors that together when added up are going to give me this. So negative 1 plus negative 42 is negative 43. This one does not work. What about negative 2 plus negative 21? Negative 23. Not 17. These don't work. Negative 3 plus negative 14 equals negative 17. Woohoo! These are my factors. Okay, so remember, I'm going to lay these out, put a D in the front, and these are both negative. So negative 3 is going to come here, and negative 14 is going to go right here. And you have just factored a negative positive trinomial, where your b is negative and your c term is positive. I'd like you to do k squared minus 10k plus 25. Pause me and see what you get. Hopefully you got k minus 5 times k minus 5. If you don't know how I got this, go ahead and watch this little excerpt. Remember that I want to get the factors of my c term, and because this guy's negative, I need to take the negative factors. So negative 25 times negative 1, negative 5 times negative 5. All right, so if I'm looking at this, negative 25 plus negative 21, or negative 1 equals negative 26. Not 10. I want it to equal my b. So what about negative 5 plus negative 5? Well, that equals negative 10. So these are my terms. All right, lastly, I would like you to do, let's do x squared minus 11x plus 18. Pause me and see what you get. Welcome back. Hopefully you got x minus 2 times x minus 9. Again, if you don't understand how you got that, 18 is my c term, and because this is negative, I want to look at taking the negative factors. Negative 18 and negative 1, negative 9 and negative 2, negative 6 and negative 3. Negative 18 plus 1 is negative 19. What do I want it to be? 11. That doesn't work. Negative 9 plus negative 2, on the other hand, gives me negative 11. So these are the terms, 2 and 9. Good job. Let's look at the third type of trinomial, where instead of my b being negative, it's my c. My b is positive. So let's look at an example way in here. Let's say that I have m squared plus 6m minus 27. Well, let's, again, look at my c term. And because c is negative, I want to look at factors that one is negative and the other is positive. So let's look at negative 1 and 27, or positive 1, negative 27. Let's look at negative 3 and 9, or 3 and negative 9. And let's look at, yeah, I think that's about all I can do. Notice that in each of these you need to switch your negative, because watch this. Negative 1 plus 27 is 26. 1 plus a negative 27 is negative 26. Negative 3 plus 9 is negative 6. So it's not that way. But 3 plus a negative 9, I'm sorry, this is positive 6. This one is negative 6. So this is the pair of factors that I want to use. So I'm going to end up writing my m. One of these is positive, and one of them is negative. The 3 is negative, and my 9 is positive. Now, would it matter if I wrote it as m minus 3 times m plus 9? Well, let's check. Here, I'm going to do FOIL. I'm going to get m squared plus negative 3 times m plus 9m minus 27. M squared plus 6m minus 27. So far we're good. Let's check this one. M squared plus 9m minus 3m. Remember to take your whole negative 3 here to your m. Minus negative 3 times 9. So I get m squared plus 6m minus 27. Any difference? No. You just need to remember that your variable goes in front of each term and that one of them has to be negative and the other has to be positive. Doesn't matter which one. All right, let's look at one more example. Let's do m squared plus 8m minus 20. Pause me and let's see what you get. Hopefully you got either m plus 10 times the quantity m minus 2, or you had it written m minus 2 times the quantity m plus 10. If you didn't get this, or you're not sure how I got that, let's watch the rest of this, otherwise you can skip forward. Remember that because this term is negative, I need to find negative and positive terms. Negative 1 times 20, and you want to do the opposite. Positive 1 times negative 20. All right, negative 4 times 5. Positive 4 times negative 5. And negative 2 times 10. And positive 2 times negative 10. We're going to add these up. Negative 1 plus 20 is 19. I want it to equal what? Well, I want it to equal 8. 1 minus 20 is negative 19. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Negative 2 plus 10 is 8. And 2 minus 10 is negative 8. This is the one that equals B. I have positive 8 up here. So I'm going to end up needing to write my factors with negative 2 and positive 10. And my variable is m. And just to check, I'm going to do first, outer, inner. Remember to take the whole negative 2. And then take the whole negative 2 over to 10. And I get m squared plus 8m minus 20. That's what I had up here. So this is indeed my factor. Let's look at the last type. This type is very similar to the last one we did. Notice that my c is going to be negative, but the interesting thing is so is my b. So let's look at some examples. Let's say I take p squared minus 3p minus 18. And I want to first identify my c factors. C is negative 18. So I'm going to look at negative 18 times 1. Again, these have to be alternating positive and negatives, because if they're both negatives, then I've got a positive c situation, and I don't have that. So positive 18 times negative 1. Negative 3 times positive 6. Positive 6 times negative Sorry, let me not confuse you. Positive 3 times negative 6. And, oh, I forgot 2. Negative 2 times 9, and positive 2 times negative 9. All of these are factors of 18. And now I'm going to add them up and see what their sum or difference is. Negative 18 plus 1 is negative 17. 18 minus 1 is a positive 17. Negative 3 plus 6 is going to give me positive 3. I'm getting close. My b is a negative 3. So 3 minus 6 is going to give me my negative 3. So this is the pair of factors I want, because 3 minus 6 is negative 3. So I'm going to separate my p's, and I need a positive 3 in one and a negative 6 in the other. So p plus 3 times the quantity p minus 6 is my final answer. I could check this by using FOIL. P squared plus negative 6 times p. Protect your negatives with parentheses, guys. This is a negative 6 times p. And then my inner, I'm going to do 3p. And 3 times a negative 6. So So I get p squared minus 3p minus 18, which is what I had up here, so this is indeed correct. Why don't you try doing one on your own? Let's look at doing y squared minus y minus 56. Go ahead and split this up into factors. Remember to factor out your c term first and find the sum or difference that gives you your b term. Remember my b here is like there's a hidden 1 with my y. Pause me and let's check your work. Welcome back. Hopefully you got y plus 7 minus 8. Why this way? Well, remember that I'm looking for a negative 56. So I'm going to write out my factors, and I'm going to alternate which, oh gosh, I always do this. Don't make that mistake. 56, negative 1. And let's do negative 2 times, gets 28. And a positive 2 times a negative 28. Let's do the negative 7 times positive 8, the positive 8. Oh, gosh, I'm doing it again. Positive 7 times negative 8. Difference here is negative 55. Difference here is positive 55. Difference here is 26. Difference here is negative 26. Here my difference is 1. Here my difference is negative 1. Which one do I want to use? I want to use the one that gives me negative 1. My 7 minus 8. So my 7 is positive and my 8 is negative. Let's do one more on your own, and then I think you're good to go. Let's do p squared minus 3p minus 40. And what do you get? Hopefully you got p minus 8 times the quantity p plus 5. Remember that you could have also had this written as p plus 5 times p minus 8. All right, if you're still having questions with this, you can shoot me an email or see me in class tomorrow. Good job, and thank you for hanging with me.